Hey everybody, and welcome to Stubob Reviews. Today we're going to be talking about The Player of Games. It is written by Ian M. Banks. So, why is this book worth talking about? We're going to talk about what I think about the book, the good, the bad, and the so-so. What is this book like, and who is Ian Banks? Okay, so Ian M. Banks is a science fiction author, and he's won more than 25 awards, including such things as the Arthur C. Clarke Award for use of weapons and the Hugo Award for the algebraist. In 2008, The Times named Banks in their list of the 50 greatest British writers since 1945. Then in 2013, he died. So what is this book like? The title kind of gives it away. The Player of Games. It is a lot like Ender's Game. You have a lot of the similarities that happen. You have a person, kind of a genius. Ender's young. The main character here is like 100-ish. And they're both really good at games, and they're both kind of used by their government. So if you like Ender's Game, which most people think is amazing, then maybe you should give The Player of Games a try. So what did I think about this book? I thought it was amazing. I also thought there were some major problems, and we're going to talk about that very soon. Okay. This book is all about not telling you what the hell is going on. In my written review, I called it Scant Description of the World and People, but this drives the narrative. He doesn't just information bomb you with this is how things look, this is how things are, this is how it is. He just paints these very delicate but broad strokes and let you fill in the rest. Again, it's only 288 pages, so if you want things to be painted down to the petal, then maybe this isn't the book for you. He skips over days and weeks amount of stuff that he just thinks this is important. We just are telling the reader that time is going by. He keeps information back, and he does this not just from you, but from the protagonist. And we'll get to this in a little bit. The largest and most pivotal example of this keeping the information back from not just the reader, but from the main character is what happens at the end of the book. And this is, again, analog or parallel to Ender's Game. Obviously, you're going to have some kind of game going on, and what happens at the end of this big game, we don't really understand until almost the last page. And again, this game that we're going to talk about is Azad, I believe it's A-Z-A-D, Azad, is one of the most interesting parts about the book, and it's also one of the biggest problems. So what didn't I like about the book? Again, the lack of concrete details made me paint a lot, but also made me question a lot of what was going on, what did things look like. And this goes to the point of you have the main character and you're aware that he's male, but you don't really understand anything else. You're 75% way through the book and you realize that the main character is black or dark and again, this only comes up at the very end of the book, and it makes you think, wait a minute, the original part of the book when he was with his own people, were they all black? Because it never describes the original or the culture people's skin color. They can change sex, but it never talks about what color they are. So the lack of concrete details started to bug me as I finished the book. At times, Ian Banks will stop and he will describe, example, the main character's home. He will describe the fjords, which seems almost out of the ordinary when almost nothing else is described, and it felt a little disjointed. But I think he did it to set the idea of what is important to the character instead of what is important to the writer. Again, we were in other locations, such as a ballroom or a spaceship or a large game board, and we never really got a lot of description. He loves his nouns and he uses them very strongly, but to me, I kind of wanted more, which maybe is a good thing. I find just to be ho-hum, so-so about the book. I found the characters in the novel to be very flat. No one was changing, no one was evolving, everyone was pretty cardboardy, and that felt real, but at the same time felt almost cheap or hokey, Or another part that really made me go, is there are no strong female characters. There is a female character that's a drone. That's pretty important. We're going to talk about drones in a second. And then there's the main love interest, Yay, Y-A-Y, and she becomes a male, comes back to female, are not a big part about this book. So if you are looking for a strong female lead, if you are looking for male-female equality, this is not the place to look for it. But also saying that, when the main character goes to the special world, now again I'm talking about the Campbell, the hero's journey, that you start off in the safe place and you go to the magical world and you come back to the safe place, which this book does fluently. When they go to the Azad Empire, which is like the magical world for the player of games, women are not seen as equal. So it makes sense that there is going to be no strong female lead. But in the culture where males and females are very equal, you don't feel like that Yay is as important as the main character. The only other female character is, and she is a passing thought or a passing idea to the main character. He meets her at this ball. She is also a player of Azad, and he thinks about her, but he never follows up. He never is able to contact her again, and it feels unfinished. It feels like there was supposed to be more, or there could be more, but there isn't. So let's talk about the drones. So the drones in this book and in this series, the Culture series, which there are 9, and this is the second book in the Culture series, are sentient life forms. Also the ships, the spaceships, are sentient. So these are real characters. And the drones, for the most part, feel more real than a lot of the people. They feel more dynamic. And this is one of the good things, but also it's very hard to empathize or sympathize with the drone, especially when their life is so long, when they have such a different perspective or different view of the world, and we don't really understand how they tick or why they do the things they do. Okay, so why is The Player of Games by Ian M. Banks worth talking about? Why am I doing a review about it? And it is because the book is, for all the things, good, bad, and ho-hum, it comes together in a magnificent way, similar to Ender's Game, where you have an ending that you know something is going on. You know something is fishy. You know you're waiting for the shoe to drop, and then it does, and you feel, that's awesome, that's amazing, I'm so glad I read this book. One of the ways this comes about is the entire narrative is through one of these drones. And you find out at the end who has actually been telling the story, which casts a shadow over everything you have read. Because the story has been told from this third-person perspective that, again, doesn't care about you or the main character. He's just kind of telling the story. So that's a really weird thing, and it kind of makes it worth reading. And the only other book that I've seen something like this was Be More Chill by Ned Vizini, published in 2001. I really like that book. It's super light, but it has the same kind of thing about who told the story dictates the story. And again, this is definitely spoiler territory here. But it's very interesting how when you finish the book and you start to question what has been left out and why it's been left out, really makes the book captivating. But really, this is all minor when compared to what the book's about. The game, which is Azad, and the Azad Empire, which is a macrocosm for the game itself. But in the novel, these game boards are gigantic, and there's even pre-games to get your starting resources or your starting position to play these big games, which they're so big you can stand in the middle of the game board because it's like 10 feet by 10 feet or something. It's gigantic, which again, he doesn't describe everything in perfect detail, which lets you, the reader, really imagine what you think this game is all about, which is wicked cool. What's really awesome about this book is the idea that you have an entire empire based on a game and a game based on an empire, and how those mesh together is what's really awesome about the book. And when the main character, when he learns more about the empire and the people and the ruthlessness, he understands how to play the game better and how these two things are tied together so well. That idea in itself is worth the read and worth exploring. So We get to the big reveal at the end of the novel where the main character, and again I've not been saying his name because it's very hard for me to pronounce, he plays the Emperor at this planet called the Fire Planet. And where the idea is that when the last game of Azod is played, the fire will run across the planet and the Emperor will rise like a phoenix, winning the last game of Azod. And again, anyone can play the game in the Empire, and when you play the game, your position goes up with how you win. So it's kind of like a chess Olympic where anybody can enter, but let's say you're in the military, so the highest person in the military will be the highest general. So your entire career is created by this game. Again, this is why you want to read the book. So back to the Fire Planet. So this main character, Jiranu, is playing the Emperor, and he doesn't know really the stakes of the game. So Jironi and the Emperor are playing the game, Azad. And it's right about time for the end of the day. They have like a little bell that rings, and Jironi sees that he has won the game. He goes walking around saying, wow, this was the most interesting game I've ever played, and I can't believe I won, it's over, this beautiful thing has ended. And the Emperor knows what's going to happen, and he acts in a way violently that you're like, what the heck is going on? Why is the Emperor acting this way? Because before he was always very calm, cool, reserved. It says in the book that he's almost silent. And then the next day, when they go to start playing the game, there's a massacre. It's very much like the Red Wedding, because whoever wins this game dictates what happens to both cultures. So you have these 3 boards in Azod, which means machine or system, to dictate who is going to be the ruler of this empire. So when the Emperor finally figures out that he can't win, he decides to flip the table, and he burns the castle down. Because if he can't be Emperor, and if his people cannot continue in this way, then he will devastate the culture. And that's exactly what he does. So at this time, when the Emperor just commands his guards to start open fire on all of his people, the main character is like, what the heck is going on? And the drone comes to save the day, because the drone's really like a Secret Service guy. Everybody dies. It's very Shakespearean-esque. And with all this violence, it makes you think, what the heck was really going on the whole time? And slowly, piece by piece, as the last few pages click by, you realize what was really going on and what was really at stake. And what was foreshadowed before was how the Emperor played, just like his culture in the Empire dictated. He was ruthless. He didn't care about the people. He didn't care about winning this village or that village or the resources, as long as it helped him get ahead, while the main character was more conservative and wanted everything kind of to be equal. And this is, he understood, seeing the game board is seeing the character's mind, which is just amazing. It's a very clear-cut, linear storyline. This is not character-driven. I cannot say that enough. This is not. This is plot-driven. So much so that the main drone that's with the main character goes and pushes him on purpose to continue these plot points, because the drone needs the main character to get to the final game. You can't not play the Emperor. We know it's going to happen, and we're just waiting to see what kind of cool stuff transpires. In comparison to Doom or Game of Thrones or The Wheel of Time, or one of these like really big books that take time to paint every petal and show you every stitch of clothing, this book throws everything else out the window, which isn't just driving this story down the highway as fast as possible. I had a hard time really putting this book down. I spent many late nights reading this book because I wanted to see what happens. It's broken up into 3 separate pieces, so the chapters or the pieces are a bit long. What other authors will do in 500 or 1,000 pages, Banks does in a mere 288, which is staggering and brilliant. But also, he has 8 other books, in this series to continue this expansive view of what he calls his culture series, which is the name of these people's culture. I think if someone wants to learn how to write, or if someone wants to learn how to edit or cut, this is a great book to read, because you'll find yourself going like, I want more, I want more, I want more. and what that does to the reader and how he does that and how you can cut things. See what he does and see what you're doing and saying, like, how did these connect or how did these disconnect? And this book, more than almost any other I can remember, taught me more things about writing than any other book. Which my final thoughts about the book, I give it 1.5 thumbs up. I really enjoyed it, but I wanted more. I thought the female-male imbalance was okay, but not really acceptable in the end. I found myself wishing that the character would be developed more, but I thoroughly enjoyed the story. I think maybe this is Banks' best attribute, is he tells a magnificent, compelling story. And he has interesting ideas that he mentions and lets you think about for the rest of the book. And he doesn't always come back to things. For example, the drones. Everyone is seen as equal. There is no negativity, there is no racism, and that's put there without ever truly being stated. That men, women, they can change genders. And this is foiled with the Empire, the Azad Empire, and how they have 3 sexes. They have female, apex, and male. So you have this very differences between these two cultures without them really ever talking about this. But through a game, he explores it. That is worth reading and that is worth looking into. I look forward to reading the first book in the Culture series and the second book in the Culture series. And if you haven't checked out E.M. Banks, or if you've never heard of him like I haven't, this was the first time I've ever read his books, a friend of mine said I should check him out, then you definitely should too. This is Stubob Reviews with the Player of Games.
I need a lot more training.